So welcome everyone to another edition of What I Crush. And I'm super pumped about the people we've got here today. We're going to be talking about building a massive lead generation machine. And I am joined by two people, actually. We've got Adam Graddy, who is the owner and founder of the Graddy Real Estate team. And we've also got Claire Buckler, who is his director of lead generation. And Graddy Real Estate last year, 2020, closed 579 units for a total closed volume about over 137 million. And then just this year in 2021, I had to add this stuff up. They have already closed and pinned 351 units and 89.1 million in volume. And they're from Springfield, Missouri. I don't know if a lot of you know this or not, but that's not like this luxury market where the average sales price is like 500,000. So my gosh, you guys, just amazing. So thank you both for being here. And, we're really going to dig into how you can build out this lead generation machine, this platform. And, Adam, I'm going to start with you. What I'm wondering about is all over the country, I've dealt with this as a coach. People have attempted to build this ISA department and they try and fail. And, I'm wondering, why have you guys had so much success in this arena when so many other people have struggled so badly?
Sure. Jordan, thanks for having me. I appreciate this question because I too talk to a lot of other teams, and I talk to them about their lead generation models, because every time we get together, everybody wants to know what's your lead source, right? Where are you getting all this stuff from? It's the first question that we ask each other, and anybody can turn on or off the leads. It just takes money. It's what are you doing with the lead once you get it? And I think the thing that we've done differently setting up our ISA department is we've put the ISA in charge of that lead, and we've allowed them to own that lead. And then they decide when the agent gets to work the lead, and then they hold the lead and the agent accountable. So I can go a little bit deeper in that. We were just talking with another ISA team, and they said, well, they don't have the ability to follow up with the agent and hold the lead accountable because the agent won't even get back to the ISA. Well, on our team, if you don't get back to the ISA, we just turn the leads back off, right? We hold that very accountable, and we just don't set this up like an entry-level job where a lot of other teams are holding everybody on the team into one position as an ISA, and then allowing them to grow up into different roles from that point. And they're treating this like an entry-level position, and it doesn't need to be that. This is a career for people, and this has easy six-figure potential, and we've set it up that way.
Yeah, I think what you just touched on, Adam, is probably one of the biggest mistakes I see people make. And it sounds like in the teams that you're talking about too, that, the ISA position is kind of treated as this launching pad, or it's at the bottom, of the food chain, so to speak. And so you guys are doing this differently, where it's not looked at as a lesser than role or a role. Yeah. So talk a little bit about that, because you said something when I was talking to you earlier about how you invest more in the agent than you do the lead. What did you mean by that?
So again, our lead spend is about $5,000 a month. And so if you look at the amount of units that we're doing and the amount of volume that we're doing, you would expect that number to be easily 10 times that. And it's not. And we instead are investing in really amazing ISAs to take the leads and nurture them along. And so we're having really long relationships with these leads. They're not necessarily, immediate transactions, but we're investing in these people and building relationships with these leads so that when they're ready to transact, there's no issue getting them to come and sign at the kitchen table. And so instead, we're investing in the role and in coaching. Claire had her first coach call within about 72 hours of joining my team with Anna Kruger. We brought in Anna Kruger to be part of the hiring process when we brought on Claire. And she, during that whole career visioning process, Anna coached us through that. And so not being afraid to pay for coaching for those people, just like you would your listing agent or your lead buyer's agent, and then pouring into them to make sure you get really great results out of them.
Yeah, I mean, Adam, $5,000 lead spin on this size of, 351 closed and pended this year is insane. And so it sounds like if you were coaching me on how to build this up, that what you're saying is that I need to put more time, attention, and money into the person than I do just ramping up the number of leads coming in. Is that what you're
You're
saying?
exactly right. You're exactly right. And the byproduct of that will be a really amazing customer experience for your
Mm,
buyer or seller.
got it. Okay. Okay. So treating as an entry level job, don't do that.
Don't do that.
And invest in your people. So you had and this wasn't a plug for MAPS coaching. I didn't pay Adam to say this, but you had a coach already with Claire from the second she said go. Like you guys were already investing in that for her, right?
Correct. That's exactly right.
Got it. Okay, cool. So any other myths or things that you would, if somebody's looking to build out this lead generation department, this massive thing, any other tips or things that they need to avoid that you would add to that?
So our ISA team is in the middle of like our work environment. So the way our office is set up is the ISAs are right in the middle. Like they're the lifeblood of our team. They're essentially our front line. They're where a lot of our culture comes from. We talk about one team, one language. Like everybody walking through the office can hear the ISAs on the phone lead generating all day long. And I think another thing that we see is teams having ISAs offsite or away from the agents. And so, there's not great synergy. There's not great communication back and forth. And again, it's making that ISA role feel like a lesser than role. Your words, which I think, I think you titled that well. I think you have to bring them in and give them great training, great coaching, and then show them a path to make a six-figure income, right? And they can do that and have a really controlled life, with very controlled hours where they can turn it on and turn it off, which a lot of agents can't do, and they can still have the same income as an agent.
Yeah, I think what you just touched on, Adam, is so key because, we typically think of ISAs as somebody that's got a face for radio and like a telemarketer, just a cold caller. And what you're really saying is that the economic opportunity, this is really for somebody that wants unlimited income, but wants more of the schedule of a 9 to 5. And, if you talk to agents out in the field, they can make a ton of money. The challenge is it's always this balancing act between their life and their business, right? Whereas this position provides literally the best of both worlds.
The best of both.
Yeah.
And Jordan, why would you not invest everything you have into that person? I mean, they're the first contact that somebody from the outside world has of you and your brand. And the way our IC team is set up, they're the last contract, and then the next contact, and then the next contact after that, after closing, right? They're the ones that are assigned to that lead and then following up with them until we transact again, right? Everybody says, I want to be your realtor for life, but they're afraid to stay in touch. Like they're not going to call you, and that's the ISA's role.
Yeah. Yeah. So Claire, I'm curious in your role and how you all, formulate or kind of approach this as a team. What do you think that you guys do differently, or what is it that your team really nails that maybe other teams don't?
I think that Adam touched on it earlier, the follow-up process. We do a lot. We're very proactive, right? We're going after the lead. We're not waiting for the lead to come to us. And so it is a longer follow-up time. And we have a very simple yet scalable way we pull leads through the database. And it, our motto is no lead, left behind. And so our goal is to never have a lead that gets lost somewhere. We do the best we can at keeping them within, buckets and pools so that they're all getting touched at a very consistent basis. And it helps us keep those that sales snowball. It keeps it running longer and longer because we're keeping the leads touched at a consistent level.
Yeah, so we all have heard at some point that the fortune's in the follow-up, right? So Claire, how or what would you say are the ingredients of amazing follow-up?
So you have to have a CRM and you have to have, so our policy is if we believe the leads within 12 months of transacting, you have got to have a reminder to call again. And you have to clean up your reminders every day. That's agents and ISAs. So the goal is to have your reminders cleared out every day. And, everybody has a contact goal too, right? It's in your benefit to clean up your reminders because that's how you meet your contact goal. And so, you've got to have a system. It doesn't matter what system it is, but you have to, my biggest thing is there has to be an intent to do something with that person again. And if they're outside of 12 months, we still have buckets and, we have goals where how often we contact each bucket of people. And so while there's not a reminder, they're in a spot that gets called through or has some sort of plan system, that's reaching out so that they're all getting touched consistently.
So
Jordan, I can't tell you how often I'm sitting at a kitchen table and they'll tell me I'm not there because of me. I'm there because Drew on our team has been following up with her for 18 months, right? Or she has such a great relationship with Claire, right? Or other teams have contacted them when they were expired, but everybody stopped at some point and we continued to call for 12 months until they were ready to transact again. And they're ready to sign the second you walk in. They're the best leads you can find. They can't wait to sign. They've gone through the entire process with the ISA and the ISA has completely just put the ball in the tee and all you gotta do is walk up and swing.
So yeah, I mean, what you're talking about there, Adam, is as the listing agent, the ISA has predominantly done the conversion for you. You're just really there to collect paperwork. If, the way to be trustworthy is to follow through on what you say you're going to do. And it sounds like that's the essence of follow-up is, and Claire, so you're saying that every lead that's within a 12-month period, you guys just continue to set the reminders. What's an example of a time that you guys decide to stop following up, or is there a certain number of attempts that maybe you take them out of rotation? Do you have any rules or protocols around that people should know?
We have a 5, if we've contacted them 5 times in a row through call and text and they haven't got back to us, we'll do one of 2 things. We will either downgrade them. So say they were a B buyer or seller, we may downgrade them to a C. So we're still not going to give up. We're just going to downgrade them and then put our reminders farther out. Or we're going to put them, if we've done that a couple times, they're still not responding. We've tried multiple avenues. One, we may send it to another ISA. So we have a team aspect. It's a culture thing, right? We're not afraid to let somebody else try. Sometimes a new number will get a hold of them. And if that still doesn't work, they go into like a old database bucket, which will then just get, dialed by newer team members or, ISAs in their prospecting time. So it's a larger group of people that doesn't get called quite as often, but it still gets called through a couple times a year.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
So Claire, you run an entire department and Adam has been doing, this for some time. And so where do you all find your ISAs? Because it seems like the people that you have that you don't have tons of turnover like other departments or this role, overall. So where do you all find the people that are in your ISA department?
Yeah. I will say the first 6 months is critical. The people that we have that make it past 6 months, we do have a high success rate in keeping them here and keeping them, happy with what they're doing. So the people that we have here that we've had the most success with a lot are past clients or referrals from friends and family, team members, somebody that you already like, know, and trust that refers them to you. That's you know, it's kind of like finding talent in ISAs, or really any position you're hiring for, is the same as lead generating, right? Your referral from your dad is going to be a much higher conversion rate than the person that you had to go circle call their neighborhood. So it's the same thing. You can find great talent by placing an ad. It's just going to take you more interviews to do it. So we have found some people that way too. But it's probably a very similar conversion rate to a lead looking to buy or sell real estate. So if you can, as you're calling your past clients, we will call past clients and tell them who we're looking for. We're not afraid to, when those calls we make to them quarterly, let them know that we're looking for who we're looking for, and they'll send people our way.
And Jordan, this goes back to not treating it like an entry level position, right? This is when you consider that this is your front line, right? You need to take them through the full CV process and not short circuit it like a lot of people do, especially when it's just an entry level position, right? They're like, well, let's just throw the spaghetti at the wall and see if it sticks. And you can't do that, right? You got to take them through the full CV process. And we do it, this is a step farther. In our group interview actually is with our team, and anybody on our team has the power of veto during that group interview. So you may get, 10 of us in a room and 9 are excited and 1 is not, and we do not move forward with that person unless all 10 are excited. And so again, that's a culture thing. But when there's an issue later on, and Claire's talking to a team member and they're having a problem with the person, she's like, hey, well, you were in the group interview too, right? You have some buy-in on this too. Go sit down with the person, invest some time in them, and let's see if we can coach them up.
Yeah. So, wow. Okay. So here's the thing that I hear from you all is that you just take this position so much more seriously than most, right? And and I think what I love so much about what you've said so far is, I was an ISA for a year and a half. It can be an incredibly isolating role. And what you guys did is took them and put them in the middle of the office, right? So now everybody can see them, they're plugged in, and they're not on an island off somewhere by themselves, just making phone calls. And, Adam, you spoke to the career visioning process. When you're taking somebody through that, and maybe Claire, you can answer this question too. What are the things that you're really looking for in people? What are those traits or characteristics that you're looking for?
Yeah. So when we're interviewing them, I wish I could tell you there was one specific thing that magically makes somebody a great ISA. For me, I find it really important to find some sort of track record of success. Competition. I was talking with the ISAs, it was last week, and they said something that I think even pinpoints that more. And we talked about how, when you're lead genning, right, you're not seeing what comes out of that lead gen for 3, 6, 9, 12 months. And so it can be hard to stay focused on those daily activities. And so we really kind of narrowed that down to when we're hiring people, looking for like some sort of grit. Did they, were they a high school athlete that showed up to practice, every day for 4 years, right? To compete their whole high school. What did they do that would show they showed up every day, did the hard work, not knowing what the results would be, months from then or years from then. So I always said, a track record of success, but I think we're even kind of narrowing that down a little bit more to say, who are those people that are willing to put in the work and not necessarily know what the outcome is going to look like.
You nailed it. It's that time on task over time is the formula for the ISA, right? It's that, it's the formula for lead generation, right? It's consistently doing it every day, day in and day out, knowing the result will come, and really being able to have really great expectation management over whoever that person is that you're taking through the CV process, and making sure they understand that the role is that they're signing up for. That's the biggest deal, right? that they really understand what their day-to-day is going to look like. And so during that process, we actually bring them into the office and allow them to call. We put them on the phones so that they can actually experience what that's like before we decide to go in business with them.
So you put them on the phones before you ever hire them.
Mhm.
Why do you do that, Adam? Have you always
Go
done
ahead,
that?
Claire. This is a thing that Claire added. So go ahead, Claire, because she does this with everybody.
Yeah, some people have fear of dialing, or they sound really awkward, like they just can't pull it together. And some people do amazing. And I don't need them to do the script perfectly. I just need them to be able to, um, one, make sure they're not afraid to call. Like it takes me a long time to like to set up everything to onboard. I mean, it takes me like a full day's worth of work. Like I'm not doing that just for them to show up and be afraid to pick up the phone and call. So that's number one. But yeah, I mean, just can they figure it out? Do they have some of that I don't know, what would you call it? Kind of like BS mode, right? I mean, where you can
Yeah.
make up a good conversation without 100% knowing what you're talking about. So I'm looking for that. Some people, when they get in that, like the conversation didn't go how it says on this script, right? They freeze, and other people figure it out. And I want to know if they can figure it out or not.
It's a really great part of the step. It's quick, it's easy, it doesn't cost us anything. We're not taking everybody through that, Jordan, but once we're casting a wide net and starting that process, and we're down to 2 or 3 candidates, then we're bringing them in. And Claire, I think that's when you probably agree we find some of our best stuff. Like you'll be like, wow, Adam, this person surprised me, good or bad, right? We think they're going to be really great and they get on the phone and it's not, or we're uncertain about them, but we're still pulling them through the process for one reason or another, and they wow us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I imagine that tells you a lot about how they tackle new things.
Mm-hmm.
No one's going to tell you, I'm really ungritty and I give up on things super easy. No one ever says that. And yet when you put them in the game, right, you will actually see them have to put up and behave the way that they've been telling you through the interviewing process that they're going to behave. So that's great. So Claire, how would you say you've seen I want to get kind of tactical, right, for the people that are here today, and you've been in this role for 4 or 5 years now, right?
Mm-hmm.
How have you seen lead generation change during that time?
Yeah, I think it's become a lot more relational, which you've probably noticed. That's a lot of our tactic. We're in it for the long game. Technology's changed, and so we have had to shift a little bit with how we communicate with people. So we're more likely to do a text now than we were 3 or 4 years ago. And just with everything, the do not call us being a lot more in the front, and we've had to take a step back from that. Just triple line dialer, we just don't do that anymore. It's very personal, it's very one-on-one. And we just keep it as relational as we can versus 600 dials, right? It used to be 600 dials, 200 contacts, 2 appointments, right? We don't do that. And it just doesn't pay anymore. You've got to stay connected with people and, be specific to that person, meet them where they're at. If they want to text, great. If they want to jump on the phone, that's great too. If they want to do a consult over Zoom, that's fine. You want to meet at Starbucks, okay, we can do that. We just try to meet people where they're at, and we do that in lead gen too. We try to communicate with them how they want to be communicated.
Yeah, and I often refer to the we're all in this, I call it, we're in Mike Ferry recovery mode. It's used to be pound the phones, close the deal, get in their face, right? And that doesn't work anymore. Like that, the cheese is moved on that style of selling. And so it seems like, Claire, the other thing that you have and that you guys instill in your people is patience. That and for high achievers, patience can be kind of a dirty word because it's it's synonymous with just waiting around, but patience is actually, we've got to have great patience in the macro and tremendous amount of hustle in the micro. So when you're bringing ISAs in and you're teaching them how to lead generate, what do you think are the metrics that people should be tracking? Should I be really focused on how many contacts they make? Should it be like appointments that they set? Or are there other things that you feel like are more important as far as accountability is concerned?
Yeah, I think those are all still really important. For accountability, especially somebody's that's really new, their first 90 days, I really try to give them some grace. Some people set a lot of appointments and they don't have the best show up rate, and that's okay. We can fix that. We can work with that. And some people don't set a lot of appointments, but they all show up and they all sign, and that's okay too. So I try not to be super set on, if you don't do this, you don't have a spot on the team. So we look at a couple different metrics. Those lead metrics where your contacts and your set, those are all really important. And those we look for. Honestly, contacts to me is almost more important than even set. I really want to see, comes back to the grit, who's willing to hit their contact goal every day. Who figures it out, who leaves before they're done. Those sorts of things are really important to me early on. But yeah, we track contacts, appointment set, appointment held, appointment signed. We obviously track pended. It's not one that's in my conversion super hard, and then obviously closed. And we watch the sign. I give the team, especially my more senior ISAs, their sign is the most important, and they have quite a bit of leeway on set and held, as long as the sign is being hit and their contacts are being hit. So the contacts are still, at the end of the day, it's the signs and the contacts that I watch a lot.
So it starts with more activity-based contacts, and then over time they get, more control or autonomy. And if they're hitting the sign goal, then you're probably, leaving them alone, so to speak, or, you're not holding them as accountable, but it shifts over time is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Is that right?
It
Okay.
does. It shifts over time. And then obviously I always want to see growth. Are they trying to do more every month? If they're staying stagnant on their signs, that might be a red flag. But as long as every year, every quarter, every month, they're always trying to be better than the month before, we're happy. It's one of the perks of this role is you do have, we call it building a team within a team, right? Or building a business within a team too, right? They each have their own business. And we talk about it that way, they get some leeway in how they build their business, as long as they're hitting the metrics that make it still a win-win for myself and Adam as well.
I love that. Yeah. And, Adam, you said something earlier that kind of struck me that I think is also important to the success of your team, because when you were talking about the defense, right? And if you don't know what that is, then you need to take the career visioning course. But you said 9 or 10 people.
Uh-huh.
So this is not like, I think it's important to note on this when we're talking about the success of the lead generation department, and 351 closed and pended this year. What do you mean there's only 9 or 10 people?
So I want to get corrected. There's 20 people on our team.
Okay.
We would only bring in about half of that usually, just because we don't want to shut down business, and we don't expect everybody's going to be able to show up to there. But it goes back to treating it like an entry-level position. I just can't harp on that enough. Jordan, so if you were sitting down to hire an ISA, what would you have to do in order to hire somebody that's going to stay in that role and think of that role for a decade or 2 decades, right? To really make a career out of it? What would that role have to look like? What would the possibilities have to be? And so earlier when I said treating it just like a listing agent or buyer's agent, we only have 2 listing agents on the team, and we only have 1 buyer's agent with 2 showing assistants. And so we've just recently, in the last 30 days, brought in a second buyer's agent for the first time. And so how can you, instead of building it really wide, how can you build it really deep so that everybody on the team has a really big life? right? How can you take that person and really move their meter? You know, because certainly we could have 15 buyer's agent, but what if we just had one? What would their world look like? You know, and so that's what we've done, and that's how we've treated every single role on the team. You know, we look at metrics for other teams on, say, transaction coordinator and how many files that they can handle. Well, what if we gave them double? Right? How valuable could they be to our team? Right? And then what could we pay them? Does that make sense? And look at the quality of the person that you're getting then.
Yeah.
And so that's how we've tried to approach this. And so that keeps our turnover rate really low. It keeps our incomes really high, right? It keeps our culture really strong. You know, from every facet, you know, it checks the box. Like we end up with this really great team because we try to pour into every person and try to maximize their potential and their income.
So you guys had one buyer specialist and two showing partners. How many sides did that buyer specialist do last year, Adams? Do you
Do you have
remember?
that metric in front of you? Like 240-ish?
Yeah, it was right around 240.
So I think that's important to note that with the ISA team, they're not constantly handing leads off to like brand new agents who don't know what they're doing, right? And then coming back, oh, it's the quality. Like Claire is handing this to someone who is a pro, right?
Mhm.
I mean, if she's doing that many transactions and you only have two listing agents, I mean, they're pros. So I think that's another really key distinction that I see people struggle with is they're handing out all these leads, but they're handing them to like 10, 15 different agents. And then the communication gets really hard too. So I think, okay, that's great. And so thank you for answering that. All right, guys, we're at the bottom of the hour here. Is there anything I haven't asked you, anything that you want to add before we call it a day here?
Claire?
I don't think so. Yeah, it's great.
All right, you guys did awesome on this, and I've got a page of notes, and I talked to Claire on Friday, so I don't know why it is every time I see you two, I end up with a page of notes. So thank you. And for all of you who are here, remember, if you're looking for someone in Springfield, Missouri, the Graddy Real Estate team is the place you want to go, right? And join us next week. We're going to be talking to Dr. Neela Sandel, who is my personal doctor, about how we can operate inside of health and wellness while still being a top performer. So we've got a special treat for you next week at 3:00. So join us for that edition of What I Crush. And as always, we'll put the recording and everything up on whaticrush.com. Again, Claire and Adam, thank you so much for your time. This was really great.
Thanks for having us, Jordan. It's good to see you.
Thank you.
Talk to you guys soon. Hi there, and thank you for watching What I Crush. And if you're enjoying what we're putting down, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe. Don't forget the bell button, and check us out at whaticrush.com. We'll see you on our next episode.